I'm excited to be here. Like Mark said, I've started a number of businesses in 10 years, in the last 10 years, and one of the things that I learned a lot from other entrepreneurs was just to be around them, because they share your experiences, your highs, your lows. You can bounce ideas off of each other. It's just good to kind of surround yourself with those type of people, very optimistic, that are going through the same situations and problems as you are. Just out of curiosity, who here has a business right now? A few of you? Is it working business, function in your like official? You got your EIN number and everything? Cool. How many have a business idea? Everybody has an idea. What are you waiting until you have to get out of school? Raise a hand before you start your business? Kind of? Cool. Just interesting to know. When I was in your shoes, I went to a lot of lectures that had entrepreneurs. You know, Josh James is a local legend around here. I really liked going to his because he just kind of told stories of how he started and kind of the stuff he ran into. And for me, it was really neat just to see that and say, okay, it's possible. I can do it. I have an idea, just like he did. I'm just going to go for it. So I'm going to kind of just take you through my journey of from start until now. And I was up late last night with my wife, and she was laughing at me because in the last 10 years, we've started 10 businesses. And not all of them were successful. Which a lot of you will find out the hard way. But she was making fun of me because she was saying, okay, this is going to hopefully be our last one. I said, I don't think so, but maybe. So let me take you to the first slide. It's probably going to be hard to see, but in 2002, I started my first business. If you can't read it, I called it Curbs. So in 2001, 9/11 hit. The country was pretty patriotic at that time, and I was serving a LDS mission in California, and I came across a neighborhood that had a bunch of painted curbs that had their address, the homeowner's address, with the American flag next to it, and it looked really cool. And I was like, man, that's a good idea. And then I just kept tracking to do my thing, and then I ran into this guy a few months later, knocking doors, and I said, hey, how much? This is awesome. I want to do this. And he was really reluctant to share information. And I said, hey, don't worry. I don't live in California. I live in Utah. Then he opened up, and he said he made 45 grand in the summer. And I was like, oh, because most at that point I ever made was like 15 grand. So that was so much money to me. And so I said, I'm doing that when I get home. So when I got home, I went to a sign shop and how to make my stencils, and then eventually got smart because they weren't the ones actually manufacturing it, left them and found the actual company that manufactures the stencils. And so I started Curbs, and it was just a summer job. I'd go knock doors, and I would have my spiel. I would paint addresses with the American flag on it. And so I went online to see if some of them were still around. So I used Google Maps to see if I can find some, and I found this one right here. So you can't, if you can see it, kind of a little American flag with their number on it. But the funny thing is it doesn't, you see it has 1 star? I was like, it's too small to fit all 50. So I'm like, I'll just do 1 star for Utah. And then I ran into somebody who's like, that's like the Arabian flag. And so I looked it up, and sure enough, it was like a Middle Eastern flag. So I was going around painting Middle Eastern type flags on it's just the irony of it. So this was my first one, and for 2 summers, it funded my living for the winter. I didn't have a job in the winter because I made a lot of cash during the summer, and the second winter, that's when I met my girlfriend, turned to wife, and she said I had to get a real job. So I stopped doing Curbs. Well, actually, before I did that, I said, well, maybe I can turn this into a business where I don't have to go and knock doors anymore. So that's when I went and found the manufacturer. I had to make a ton of stencils. I went to colleges like this, put up a bunch of summer job listings, had a ton of phone calls, met with a lot of people, and tried to just sell them the stencils and sell them the dream that I had for 2 summers. Anyways, it kind of worked. Not enough to sustain, dating a girl that wanted to go out all the time. So I had to get a real job. So I stopped doing curbs. That was back in 2002 to 2003. So I took kind of a break, but the entire time I took that break, I left to go work at Men's Warehouse, selling suits, of all things, which I'm grateful for because it just refined my sales skills. And then I left there to go work for a company called Verizon, but not the Verizon phone, it was the phone books. And that's where I was introduced to marketing. You guys know what phone books are in here? Some of the older people might. They drop them off at the door and you immediately throw them away. So when I was working there, a friend of mine there, this is when the internet started booming. When every business that we were selling Yelp page ads to says, I don't want to be in the Yelp pages anymore, I want to be on Google. And so we just kept hearing that. So my friend and I, named Travis, he was at the trip too, we said, we saw something. We're like, well, as sales guys, we just started selling that. We stopped selling the Yellow Pages. And so after a while, we said, geez, we read an article. Do you guys, what's the name of it? Yodel? Have you guys heard of Yodel? Internet? No? It's an internet marketing company back east, pretty big. Anyways, we read an article about this guy who started Yodel, young guy, and we said, geez, we could do that. We're selling it every day. Let's just start our own business. And so we started our business. Let's go forward. Oh, actually, so here's another company before. Let me just keep track on the. So this is, anyone know where Heber is? By Park City. So I still had the itch to do my own thing, and my wife was very conservative, and she just said, no, you have a great job right now. You're not starting a business. Because as a sales guy at IDARC selling phone book ads, made really good money. But her friends approached her and said, hey, we want to do a business. Do you want to do one? And we're like, so it got her excited. So that was my in to have her go down the road of entrepreneurship. So this isn't the business. I Google mapped this too. You can see the van there taking the picture. We bought a flooring company called All Floors and More. This is from a friend of ours. And so we all mortgaged our house and put in, I think, $25,000 each. And we bought this flooring company from our friend's sister. And a year later, we were out of business. It was a learning experience. I'll go through maybe at the end if you guys have questions, but we have to get through all 10 of my businesses, so I can't stand it. But now it's a dog wash, pet supply. It's not a flooring company. So whoever went in after us is doing better than we did. This was my third company. So this was when I was working at, it got changed to IDARC, from Verizon to IDARC. And so my buddy and I were like, we could start a business. We have between the two of us, we had 300 clients that we had sold. And so we said, well, what are we going to call it? And so he said, well, Google has 2 O's, Yahoo has 2 O's. Let's just start with the O's. So we were throwing out names, and he said Oozle. And we said, okay, that's it, that's our name. And funny story about Oozle, you guys have all the internet, you can look it up, just hold your laughter. Oozle, in the Urban Dictionary, there's 2 terms to it. The second one's not the best, especially if you knew our old tagline, which was get oozled. So if you look it up, just kind of keep it to yourself. Our first employee, Secretary Amy, she was looking it up one day and she just was laughing uncontrollably, and she couldn't even talk, so we had to just read the screen, and sure enough, that's why she was laughing, because of the Urban Dictionary. Anyways, Oozle Media was that was our internet marketing company. We started it back in, so that was 2007. And just like Mark said, I recently sold it in May of this year. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But really what Oozle Media was is It was just a digital agency. We built websites, social media. Paul Mitchell was one of our clients for years. And anything internet marketing, that's what we did. When we started, it was just Travis and I. When we exited, we had 30 employees. On to the fourth company. You guys all know who Groupon is? All the deal sites. Well, back in the day, we had that idea. And we didn't even know who Groupon was. True story. I know it's not the Napster story. So our clients kept coming to us when the economy was bad and saying, "Hey, we need more business." And we're like, "Geez, there must be a way to get more business for our clients." So we said, "Well, will you offer your services at half off or more, or discount it heavily?" And they're like, "I don't know, let's try it." So we ran a few radio ads just to kind of test it out. We built this really cheesy landing page website, and our phones were we ran it for 1 week straight, and our phones just went off the hooks of consumers saying, "Hey, we want half off services," because the economy was pretty bad. And then we had businesses calling us saying, "Hey, we want to be a part of this." We call it Half Price Utah. So we said, "Geez, we have something here." And then we started approaching our other clients, and they're like, "You're crazy. I'm not gonna discount my services at 50%. No way." And so we said, "All right, well, I guess not enough people want to do it." So we kind of curbed it. And then Groupon came in, and we were just like, "Oh man, we missed the boat." But once Groupon came in, you had KSL deals, you had Fox had their own ones, probably UVU had their own half-off deal site. So everyone had these deal sites, and people were getting bombarded by emails and daily emails from 20 different sites. So we said, well, let's be the aggregate, the kayak of the deal sites. So we resurrected Half Price Utah. And so we said, okay, well, if our target market's going to be women, how are we going to get, because that's who purchase and buy things, make the world go round. So we said, well, let's just focus on Facebook ads. So in 3 months, we were able to get 75,000 women to like our site and give us their email addresses. It's pretty. If you guys see the Facebook movie where they're like, "Bobby, refresh that screen," and they refresh it and the numbers keep counting. It was kind of like that. It was really fun. Every time we would look at it, we got another 1,000 fans, and it was awesome. But what we found out really shortly with Half Price Utah was margins are really razor thin. You couldn't make a lot of money unless you went nationwide. And at that point, we had our hands in everything, and so we kind of just let it go and grow very slowly. We actually we hooked up with another company that's all they did. They dealt with deal site companies, and so we turned the website over to them. And we kept the Facebook. We still owned everything. We just had them run it, and we'd make a commission off everything that they sold. So that was my fourth company. So this one was my fifth company, and I have right here a settlement agreement and release of claims, because this is the company we said we're going to raise money, and so we went out and we started to raise money. We raised $500,000 from a dentist, but he wasn't a dentist; he was a specialist. I can't remember what it is, but I have this up here because it didn't go well. We raised the money, and 3 months later, he got cold feet and left, and took the rest of his money. And we had hired people for it. I think we had hired 6 people, and they were supposed to be in tranches of $149,000. So he had released the first $149,000 and left, and we were stuck with everything. So I'll kind of go on this one a little later, but our attorney always said, well, if you're in business long enough, you're going to be sued. And if you're doing something right, you're going to be sued. So those who have a business, if you haven't been sued yet, you probably will be sued. My counsel to you is to get counsel, because it's smart. And nowadays you can get retainers, pay for an attorney for, I don't know, $50 a month maybe, who knows. there's endless options out there, but it's smart to have somebody who's smarter than you, because we had no idea. I'll just say that we came out on top on this, on the claim. But Soapbox, that was my 5th company. Okay, on to 6, 7, and 8. So mind you, this is all during Oozle was doing so well for us that it gave Travis, my business partner, and I, the ability to have ADD and just kind of just whatever. Is anybody in their business? Do you have anybody in internet marketing business in here? No? Good. Oh, you? Okay. So if you probably know, like, if you learn the internet, you know how to rank things on Google and social media. You feel like you can start any business because you know how to get leads. So that's what we did. We thought we could. We were always, every meeting we had, we would come out of it with 10 different business ideas. And that's why my wife just hated all our business ideas, because she's like, just focus on the one that's making money. But we always wanted to do other things. So we started after the Soapbox debacle and just that big mess. We had had an opportunity for years. Our shop, we never really dealt with heavy duty custom programs or software. So we always outsourced to a guy, one of our friends, with his business. He's like the Doogie Howser of developers. But so we outsourced to him, and then after the Soapbox thing, we were outsourcing a lot to him, and we said, hey, let's just partner up and let's do a business. Because at that time, let's see. So this was 2013. Mobile was getting very hot. We said, well, let's do a mobile app company. Let's build custom apps for companies. So we started App Media, and App Media was awesome. So we had the idea, and we said, okay, let's start it in 2013. And we said, okay. At this time too, Oozle was growing out of its current space, and we needed to look for a larger building. So we were looking, and we found a new place. And at the same time, we said we were starting App Media, and so we needed even more room. So we said, well, okay, the space that we found, we said, okay, this is a cool space. How do we market our new company and promote Oozle it's growing? We said, well, let's throw a huge party. And so we came up with the idea of, well, what do most businesses nowadays do on their lunch break? Could you guys take a guess? Ping pong, foosball, trash basketball, whatever. Competitions, right? So we said, well, let's come up. So we started the Biz Games, and we said, let's throw this huge ping pong foosball tournament. And it was 2 months before March Madness. Anybody basketball fans in here? So during March Madness, the first 2 days, nobody works. They fake like they're working, but they're really on their phones, computer, or wherever, watching the games, because it's game after game. So we planned it to move into our building, after the party, but start the party the first 2 days of March Madness to kick off our 2 new companies and to promote Oozle is growing. So the Biz Games was born. Let me just show you a teaser video that we had here. I have to drag this over.
Sure. Oh, yep, there you are.
Be formless, shapeless, like water. And you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Our slogan was "Be Water," my friend. Anyways, that was a teaser video, and when we had 2 months just to kind of throw it out there to the businesses, and it blew up. Like that video was our first year. Here's our second video. I guess we can watch this. Do we have time? A minute? This was our follow-up for this year. So that was for this year. Anyways, the first year, 2013, it just spread like wildfire to all the tech businesses because they play it every day anyways. And so we had, I think we had 50 teams and over 400 or 500 people show up, and we had 16 tables all throughout 3 levels of our building. And we were going to be the first. We were the biggest tenant, and then we convinced everyone else not to move in yet, so we can use the entire space. And we said it's going to be good promotion for them because they were B2B guys. And anyways, it was awesome. It was really fun. And so the business games were born. And I think we came out positive on it, maybe $10,000, $20,000, and we weren't even trying to make money. We were just really good at getting things for free. Moving on, let me go back to this. So our purpose was to promote app media and Blog Opportunity and Oozle Media, and it worked. It was one of our best marketing, like networking we've ever had. Has anybody ever been to like a business expo? No? You guys are too young for those. Mark, you have. It's really lame. People are with pens trying to lure you in with free things and sales guys. It's just not a good networking place. And so it was a cool atmosphere, playing ping pong against somebody you can be doing business with. And anyways, in one of those videos, one of the guys at Slow Motion, he was the CEO of Bluehost. Do you guys know Bluehost? So they're local here. He was the CEO competing. He's actually a professional. The Bluehost recruits ping pong players. So yeah, and they recruited some guy from Lebanon who he's ranked #1 in Lebanon. Alfred, he actually won this year's tournament. Cool guy. We were chatting with him. He liked us so much because of ping pong, and he's like, what else do you guys do? Like, this can't be your main thing. We're like, no, it's not. We said, well, we're starting app media. We build custom apps. He's like, well, geez, my mothership has a mobile app initiative this year. I'll introduce you guys. He introduced us. 2 years later, we're still working with that company. It's our largest client. One app that they're building has generated about $1.5 million for us. Just one client. And that was over a game of ping pong. So great networking for us. So it worked. It worked for us. Well, so App Media is a custom mobile app company. Blog Opportunity, do you guys know influencer marketing at all? It was getting bloggers to talk about our businesses, post about it, experience it. So we would reach out nationwide, worldwide to certain bloggers and say, hey, we have a client that has this product. Will you write a post about it? Because they had millions, thousands of followers. And then the biz games. So this was in 2013. 2014, we were just same thing, just working with these companies and with Oozle Media. And in late 2014, my business partner and I said, let's give the business games a shot. Like, let's see if we can actually make some money at this. Let's see if we can make it bigger. and at that point, we had already said, you know what, we were kind of just losing passion for Ouzel Media. Not that it wasn't, Ouzel Media at this point was allowing us to do whatever we wanted. We had replaced ourselves. My brother, we actually put into as CEO, and then we had another guy that was COO. So we replaced ourselves in Ouzel Media, so we didn't have to run the company anymore, and it was running great, so that we could give the biz games a shot. So what we did is we said, all right, well let's start selling and see what we can make of it. And so we had 4 months to plan for the next one. That was for this year, and we went from 40 companies the first year to, I think we had about almost 100 companies, and from 400 attendees to almost 2,000 attendees. Anybody know where Soccer City is? It's a big soccer building. We rented out the entire place for 3 days. It was 80,000 square feet. And we said, well, geez, we're going to have a lot of people here waiting around for the next ping pong foosball game. Let's introduce a bunch of other games. So we had a poker, like casino corner that had blackjack and all that stuff. We had beer pongs, but it was actually water. We had about 30 tables of those. Bubble soccer, you guys know bubble soccer? We had that. You name it. We had cornhole, we had double shot, air hockey, basketball. We had everything. So each one of those stations we sold as booths, kind of like expo booths, where businesses can sponsor that and run that tournament, and they'll be able to network like we were the first year. So it worked pretty well. Problem is because we went bigger and better, we made about the same amount of money as the first year, even though we sold a lot more. So it wasn't as profitable as we hoped it would, but it was an awesome party, an awesome event. And literally 3 days after this event, Shark Tank was in town. Has anybody ever gone on Shark Tank and tried to promote your business? So it was a pretty fun experience. So we said, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's go try to get on Shark Tank. So they were at the UVU, and we went out there and we gave our 1 minute pitch to them. So it's crazy what the room's packed like this with a bunch of entrepreneurs and their ideas, and some of them are just crazy. And then they say, okay, numbers 1, 3, 5, whatever, it's your turn. You walk in, and there's a lady, we had a lady, and she says, okay, go. And you have 1 minute to give your spiel. So we gave our spiel on the biz games, and she started asking questions afterwards, which we heard was really good because they don't usually do that. And then 3 weeks later, we got a call saying, hey, we want you guys to move on to the second round. And what happens on the second round is those guys, the first people are like the gatekeepers. They're the ones, the sifters, like, these are good enough. These guys are good enough to move to the second round. Second round, you had to make a video, and then you send it in, and the actual Shark Tank people watch it and then determine. So we're still waiting on that. Keep fingers crossed. So that was just recently. One of our friends last year went through second round and got a call a year later to actually go on the show. So it could be a year after, or 2 years. As long as you're in their database and they don't have many good clients or businesses, they can go through it and try to pick ones that they have in there. So that was a biz game. So at this time, that was in March. Well, in May, we had set up Ouzel to be sold a year prior. So during this time, we were in the process of selling Ouzel. We had hired a broker. He was marketing our business. At this time, we had about 30 employees, and our broker was looking outside the United States, inside the United States, inside of Utah, for anybody interested in what we did. And we had an investment firm really interested. They were willing to give us 8x multiple on our company, which I don't know if you guys are learning about that in here, but it's a pretty, most service companies get about a 3x on their company. And at that point, we were negotiating an 8x. And whatever you hear about valuations, just throw it out the door, because it's whatever you value the company, what you're willing to sell. If you want to sell it at that, you just have to wait until you find somebody who's willing to pay for it and believes in what you have and what you created. So that's what we wanted to sell it for, and we found somebody that interested. So 1 year later, around March, we were literally 11th hour, ready to sign, and Daddy Warbucks pulls the money and says, I'm going to take this and go invest it in this company in St. George. So Son and Kip, we call him Kip. You guys ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? He looked just like Kip. They were devastated. They wanted to buy the business, but Dad pulled the money and we were out. And we had spent a lot of money on attorney fees. At that point, we were probably around $25,000 just in attorney fees. And it was heartbreaking. We were really mad because we'd put a lot of time and effort into trying to sell it, and it fell through. And so we told our broker, hey, we're not going to sell Oozle anymore. We're going to keep it. And he said, all right, well, you just have to pay my fee. And it was like $20,000. We're like, all right, we want to sell Oozle. So we put it back on the market, knowing we probably, because our contract with him was going to end in May, knowing that because selling a business takes 6 months minimum, most of the time. And so we put it back on the market, just saying, all right, whatever, and we just kind of put it behind us. Well, 1 week later, he found another guy, and he's like, I want to close this deal in 45 days. So we had a moment where we said, geez, do we want to sell this or do we want to keep it? I mean, it's been our baby for 8 years, and it's given us the ability to do whatever we want for 8 years. Do we want to sell it? We came to the conclusion, yeah, let's move on, because we were just ready at that time. And for those who've had a business for a long time, you'll know when you reach that point, when it's just kind of ready to hang it up and move on. Not that we didn't like the employees, we loved them. Most of them had been with us for 8 years, very loyal. Family parties, Christmas parties, just really good atmosphere. And we decided to sell. And so I was actually in China adopting a son when the actual papers were signed. So I got a new boy, sold my company, and when I got back, I was free. If you have employees, especially high payroll, you'll understand. It's kind of liberating when it's bittersweet, you know. 8 years you've been growing something, and get to know these people, and you no longer get emails saying, hey, we need you to do this or that. And you're kind of just a nobody at that point. So I got back, and Travis and I hooked up. Well, so here's Oozle. We sold Half Price Utah 2 weeks before we sold Oozle. So we sold both companies this year. So this was our first office. That was my brother. He was an intern at the University of Utah. And then this was Amy, Travis's neighbor. They were like, hey, we need somebody to answer phones for us or whatever you do. So this was our first office. It was one tiny little office. And we had ping pong and foosball tables out and we posted this because we just got done playing, you can tell with our ties in here, playing ping pong and foosball. We probably played about 3/4 of the day, ping pong, foosball. Because we were good sales guys. We'd go out and make a few sales and then party, play ping pong the rest of the day. Anyway, so that's our humble beginnings. You know, that was our first office. It was just off of Cottonwood, next to Famous Dave's, and intern, first employee. 8 years later, here's a Christmas party. This guy's beard, those are actual ornaments in his beard. Not everybody's in here because we have a lot of people that were full-time employees, but they live in other places. But at that time, this last Christmas, we had about 30 employees. So we were close to everybody, and it was a good experience. But it was time to hang it up, and on to the next. So we took about a month just to kind of just hang out and do whatever, and figure out what we wanted to do with our lives. And Travis and I said, well, let's start Yetio. Let's start another company. And we really, over the years, we had a lot of companies come to us and say, hey, do you guys do this? Do you do that? Do you do this? And we're like, no, we don't do this, but we know who does. and we'd always find them homes. And we never took enough time to get kickbacks from them. So we said, well, there's got to be a market for that. Let's test it out. So we came up with this name, Yetio. I don't know, I can't remember how we came up with it. So really what it is, it's just for companies looking for help in tech or marketing, that they can come to Yetio and we'll find them the right home, type of thing. And if you know the world we live in, I mean, anybody know 99 Designs, or you guys heard of that? Yeah, it's similar to that, but it's a varied version. But we're in that day and age where you can build that type of business and have people all over the world and find homes wherever. So we started doing that, and around that time, that's when we went on the trip. And like I said when I first started, one of the best things about being an entrepreneur that's very helpful is knowing knowing other entrepreneurs and what they go through. So that's why we've always gone on these trips. It's called the Tech Ventures, and it's just other guys that are in the same boat as us. And so we went and we got feedback from them and asked them and said, hey, this is what we're thinking. At this point, we had just had a website, and we're literally like a month into it. And a lot of guys gave us some sound advice, and they pretty much, not convinced, but with their advice, Travis and I said, you know what? There's probably something we don't want to pursue at this point in our stage of life. Because the revenue model was we weren't going to make money until about year 2 or 3. And we were sales guys, and our wives didn't like that because they said, hey, we're not living off of the money we just got from the sale. You need to go replace your income. We're like, all right, we'll try. So we just kind of hung it up, and then we had a moment where Trav and I, my business partner of 8 years, who I would say I would go in business any day, any time, whatever. If he came to me and said, let's do business again, I'd do it. In the 8 years, we never fought once. Never argued. Great relationship. If you're thinking about a partner, it's just like a partner in life. Do your due diligence before you sign the papers, because that can make or break you as a business. So when we decided to hang up Yetio, we said, okay, well, what do we want to do? And Travis was really excited about the business games. He loved it. That's his thing. Like, he's probably the best trash basketball player on the planet. Like, when we would travel in our early days, we would get one hotel room and we would play trash basketball to see who got the bed, and I lost every single time. So I always slept I'd make a bed with cushions and have a blanket on there, and when we'd come back in the room, the maid had made my bed on the floor all the time. It was funny. So he just really loved the business games, and I said, well, and for me, I said I just looked at it for the 2 years that we had the business games, and I just didn't see a model. At least I didn't want to put the effort in and try to build it up, because I didn't see a model where I can make really good money really fast. So I said, you know, Trav, let's separate. Let's kind of divide and conquer. You run with the biz games idea and kill it, and I'll help you out as much as I can, and I'll even relinquish 75% of my equity so that you can go raise money if that's what you need. And that's what we did. He's running with the biz games right now. He just found his partner that he's going to run with, and it looks like they're going to just kind of buy me out altogether. So he's running with the biz games. If he gets on Shark Tank, hope they kill it. But for me personally, I took a deep, look inside and said, what am I really good at? What have I done for years, and how can I make a lot of money really quick? And I said, Blog Opportunity, I didn't talk much about it, but what it was is we would get these influencers, these bloggers that had hundreds of thousands, some had millions of followers, and we would get businesses to pay us to find these bloggers, and so they would blog about our company's products. And so that went well. It was good, but when I sold and I was thinking about what I want to do, I said, well, everybody's going after that. Do you guys ever, I can't remember the name of the book, but I read some of it, Deep Blue Ocean, the Blue Ocean Theory. Do you guys know that? Talks about like red ocean where all the sharks are fighting over the same thing. And then you can go into the big, deep blue ocean where no businesses are at, and it's kind of uncharted waters. Well, I said, well, I want to kind of go in the uncharted waters because everybody's going after these big bloggers, YouTubers, Instagrammers. I'm going to go after just the everyday mom and lady, woman. I don't focus on you guys because you don't use social media the way that I need you to. So I said, nobody's really going after them. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to test this out. I'm going to test it out, test out my theory and see if businesses are willing to pay for it and if I can get average mom women to do what I need them to do. And so started testing it out, and it was working really well. Businesses were starting to pay me, and this was just 2 months ago. And so I said, okay, I've done my beta test long enough. I'm getting revenue, and I don't even have a product. I'm going to start it. And so I finished my website, got a new business partner. It's my wife. It's actually going really well. I'd recommend it eventually. I would say in your latter years when you have a nest egg and you don't have to worry about bringing in income. So my wife and I are tackling this, and she's my reach out coordinator. So she reaches out to just average everyday women that have 250 Instagram followers, Facebook followers too, and above. So really what LocalFluence is we get businesses to give us free things, to give our influencers free things in exchange for a social post, but a very real, natural social post. So like, does anybody know Pizzeria Limone? It's in Salt Lake. It's a good pizza place. They're new, and I've known them, Jeff, for years. He hasn't spent a dime on marketing in 7 years. And I presented this to him, and his wife was there, and she's like, we're doing it. This is what I've been looking for 7 years. So she gives 12 of my influencers 3 free meals, and they go in with their families and eat pizza and snap a photo of their kid eating their pizza and post about their experience there in a very real, natural way. Nothing salesy whatsoever. And what happens is you have real, natural responses. You have people saying, oh, I've never been there, I want to go, or geez, that looks really good, where is that place? Or, oh, that's my favorite pizza. And it's just very natural word of mouth business. And right now I'm batting 100 or 1,000 right now. I haven't had a business tell me no yet because they just get it, right? If you were to poll 10 businesses and say, what's your top marketing tactic? Every single one of them would say word of mouth. And that's what I do. I try to facilitate very real, natural word of mouth marketing. How much time we got? 2 minutes? Okay. So I just want to say, this is just me, what I learned. It's not every entrepreneur. This picture was free, so I just left there. It looked kind of cool. Has nothing to do with it. Maybe the hard road through, you guys seen Everest? It's a good show. Anyways, so this is just some things that I've jotted down in no particular order. Everyone thinks their idea is great, but is someone willing to pay for it? That's the key. And this is what I suggest. If you're decent with Photoshop, or if you don't know Photoshop, go on 99 Designs and pay like $50 or $100 and get like just a very one-page website. So you look professional. Doesn't have to be a full-on website, but this is what you need to do. You need to test your idea out. And this is what I did with LocalFluence and what we did with some of our other businesses, but put it up there and then just go try to sell. If it's where you sell to business or word of mouth people, just put it out there and see if people are willing to pay for it. And this is people outside of your family and people you know at school. This is people that you don't know. If they're willing to pay for it, you have a business. So that's something that I've learned over the years. Surround yourself with people who are good at what you're not. For me, that's pretty much everything but sales and marketing. So I have to surround myself with a lot of people. Sales, it does cure everything. Every time we would get in trouble, I remember at Uzel, at the time early, our wives were our bookkeepers, and they were always hounding us like, we need 30 grand in 2 weeks, or you can't pay payroll. And Travis and I were just, all right, whatever, and we'd just go out and sell. And we'd sell 60 grand that week. And they'd always be like, man, we just need to push them more. So sales does cure everything. Like just go and sell. Like, worry about operations later. Just sell and then make enough in sales to pay for somebody to organize your business. Keep moving forward, but know when to hang it up. That's what, over 8 years, UVU was going great, but we had lost all passion. If you don't try, you'll never know. So those who have the idea, give it a shot. You'll never know if it'll work if you don't try. Choose and do what you want, or this is where, do you want to build a lifestyle business or a growth business? A lifestyle business is kind of what we had at UVU. We were just set it and forget it, absentee owners, and we didn't have any interest to really grow it really big. It was just, it provided a great lifestyle for us. A growth business is something where you say, I want to exit in 3 years, and I want to exit for this amount, and I'm just going to kill it. I'm going to go raise money, and I'm going to try to get the highest valuation and just exit in 2 to 3 years. And if you, whatever you choose, focus on it. So make your choice, what path you want to do, love it, focus on it. Don't do what I did and start 10 different businesses. And then just enjoy the ride because it goes really fast. But that's my story. Those who are trying to start a business, in our little, they call it ecosystem, I hate that word, but we like to help people out. So if you guys need advice, mentorship, I'd love to help out any way I can. I'll leave my contact details. And if any of you gals or your moms have 250 plus Instagram followers, tell them to go to LocalFluence and sign up. They'll give them a lot of free things. That's it.